To start at 6, but as you can see, we don't have quorum, so we will just wait for the commissioners. Apparently, I now call to order the Planning Commission meeting of February 27th. Vice Chair Becker, please call the roll.
Commissioner Salam, Commissioner Ikezi, Commissioner Kelly,
Here.
Commissioner Williams, Chair Jane,
Here.
and Vice Chair Becker here.
Is there a motion to excuse Commissioners William and Salem this evening?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Will everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Vice Chair Becker, would you read the statement of values, please?
As we gather, we humbly seek blessings upon this meeting. May we act with strength, courage, and will to perform our obligations and duties to our people with justice to all. Let us seek wisdom so that we may act in the best interest of our people, our neighbors, and our country. All this we ask so we may serve our community with fairness and respect, putting their needs before all.
Thank you. Please be seated. The procedures for this hearing are as follows. Public hearings are conducted by the chair in accordance with the following procedures. The chair of the commission directs all activity during the hearings. All comments shall be addressed to the commission. Any item on this agenda may be continued to a subsequent hearing. Applicants will be allotted up to 10 minutes to present and justify proposals following staff presentation of the item. Other speakers will be given up to 2 minutes. The applicant is allotted up to 5 minutes for rebuttal of comments. No additional comments will be accepted upon the close of public hearing, although the commission reserves the right to direct questions to any speaker on any matter. Special procedures, time limits may be applied to any items as prescribed by the chair. Appeal of commission actions must be filed in writing within 7 calendar days. Copies of the current agenda and staff reports for each of the items on the agenda are available from the Planning Division office on the Friday afternoon preceding the meeting and available online. A copy of the agenda packet is located on the table at the entrance to the council chamber. Are there any requests of applicants, the public, or the commission for a continuance or exception for any of the items on tonight's agenda?
And Mr. Chair, for the benefit of the applicants, I should note that since there are only 4 commissioners present, there will need to be a unanimous vote in order to approve any item on this agenda. So we always give applicants the option to request a continuance without prejudice.
Thank you. Seeing no requests for continuances, we move on to the consent calendar. The procedure for the consent calendar is as follows. Consent calendar items may be enacted, approved, or adopted by one motion unless requested to be removed by anyone for discussion or explanation. If any member of the Architectural Committee, staff, the applicant, or a member of the public wishes to comment on a consent calendar item or would like the item to be heard on the regular agenda, please notify planning staff or request this action at the Planning Commission meeting during the consent calendar review. Items listed on the consent calendar with associated file numbers constitute public hearing items. Vice Chair Becker, will you please read the consent calendar for the record?
Absolutely. We have item 1A, which is the Planning Commission minutes of January 9th, 2019. And we have item 1B, which is the action of use permit for ABC license type 47 for the Element Hotel located at 1950 Wyatt Drive. And then we have lastly item 1C, which is action on time extension for the residential mixed-use project located at 2232 to 2240 El Camino Real.
I would like to pull items 1A and 1C, please. Anyone else like to pull an item? Okay, is there a motion to approve the balance of the consent calendar?
I motion.
Moved by Commissioner Becker, seconded by Commissioner Akezi. All in favor? Oh,
Aye.
do we,
Oh,
okay.
we have to do on that.
To approve item 1B.
The motion is stated on the screen, so you can ask for the vote at this point.
Has everyone voted? You haven't voted. Okay, passes unanimously. The reason why I pulled item 1A was because at the last Planning Commission meeting, we had a vote for vice chair, and the minutes don't correctly reflect the fact that we had 2 votes. We first had a vote for Commissioner Becker, and then we had a vote for Commissioner Salem, and it only reflects the vote for Commissioner Becker. So I would like to amend the minutes to add the vote for Commissioner Salem. And with
Okay.
that,
We will do that. Do you want those minutes to come back to you, or you want them to approve as amended to reflect that vote?
I believe you can approve as amended. If you want, I can read off the votes if you want, because I watched the video again.
I don't know. Elizabeth, do you need that, or can we just look at the previous file? Okay.
Okay, so for Becker, the yeses were Kelly, Ikezi, and Becker. The no was Salem, abstain was Suds. And for Salem, the yes votes were Commissioners Jane and Salem, no from Ikezi, and abstention from Kelly and Becker. And that's all I had for the minutes. So is there a motion?
So moved.
To, okay, a motion to approve the minutes made by Commissioner Ikezi, seconded by Commissioner Kelly. Okay, passes unanimously. I pulled item 1C, which is an extension for 2 years of the project at 2232 El Camino Real. And the reason why I pulled it was because since this item came before us earlier, that we had a Nexus study and we had a El Camino Real specific plan. And so I don't know, will there be a presentation from staff or should I, what do we want to do?
We have the PowerPoint that was submitted to council on the original entitlement, if you want to go through it, but perhaps we can have just a brief discussion about the extension process, because there was a response via email from the city attorney's office. And essentially, since we are unable to amend that without amending the PD, I don't know the value of going through the.
I just had a request of the applicant.
Okay.
So, you know, we're giving the applicant this 2-year extension. And since this was passed, we've adopted quite a bit more affordable housing in the city. And this project, which is 151 units, has 5 units of affordable, which were voluntary by the applicant at the time, but at 120% of AMI. And I'm asking the applicant if they would be willing to reduce that to 100% of AMI.
So perhaps the applicants somebody from Summerhill could respond to that request.
And I want to state that I have spoken with the applicant in the last couple of days.
Okay, and can I just clarify before that request is made that this is the consensus of the commissioners that are here, the quorum that's present?
Pardon?
That your request is also the consensus of this commission, because right now it's just an individual request by yourself. So I'd like to make sure that there is.
Normally, we would hear a staff presentation, and then we'd hear a presentation from the applicant, and then we would ask questions of the applicant.
On a new entitlement, but on an extension of time, if there's, reasonable cause to request the extension, we don't go through that process. So I would like to just understand that the commission, if there's a consensus that this requirement would be recommended as part of your motion on making a recommendation to City Council, that probably should be considered before the request is made of the applicant.
You're saying that we need to arrive at a consensus among the commissioners before we make a request of the applicant?
I think so, because otherwise, if the other commissioners do not support it, the inquiry really is moot. So right now, because that's directed by you. And so if the rest of the commission is supportive, then it would be worth the discussion with the applicant.
That's not how I see normal procedures work, is commissioners will make requests of applicants independently, and then we'll make a motion with those requests consolidated. Okay. So I'm just confused about how it's different this time.
Okay, again, because this is not a requirement of the entitlement, it's a little bit different, and I'm just advising that the commission consider whether or not this is going to be supported. Because if the applicant agrees, but then the rest of the commission isn't supportive, then it's not going to pass in terms of a vote.
I see.
I just wanted to add one other, some more information to Ms. Sciarra's explanation. This particular extension process, as all extensions, are governed by Section 18.54.070, in which the extension process really provides two options for the Planning Commission. That is to recommend approval of the extension or to recommend denial of the extension. There really isn't an opportunity as part of this process to amend conditions. The Planning Commission can request, but in no way can impose additional conditions or changes to the project through this process. So if any commissioner is interested in asking a voluntary question, then that's amenable. I just wanted everyone to be aware of the limitations of this particular process.
And then we're just making a recommendation to council. So council is the ultimate decision authority, correct?
Correct, but their limitation will also be to either approve the extension or to deny the extension on the grounds related to really 18.54.070, which is this time extension process.
Okay, I understand. So I guess we can have a discussion among the commissioners. Basically, what I'm saying is that the applicant originally voluntarily agreed to have 5 units of affordable at 120% of AMI. And as as I'm saying, is since then, I believe the conditions have changed in the city such that we've had a nexus study and we've had all these laws passed to increase affordable housing. The council has supported more affordable housing. And so I'm trying to make these units more affordable, and I'm asking for a voluntary offer from the applicant to reduce the level of affordability. Do any commissioners have, Commissioner Kelly?
Okay. Um, it is difficult for the developer to work on a new set of rules retroactively. If we were offering them to go another floor, for instance, then I would have no issue with asking for an additional burden on them. But I'm assuming that if they haven't closed escrow, their offer price on the land was based on what the current standards were at the time they made the offer to the landowner. And it is difficult to impose new burdens with the high cost real estate without giving them a bonus. Typically that is a density bonus so they can have more units. And without reopening everything, we can't give them the additional units, which would make additional affordable units possible. So I think at this point, the only thing we can do is do an extension. We can request it, but I would be surprised if the developer would be willing to do anything without having the carrot, which would be a density bonus.
I make a motion to approve the extension as is.
Is there a second? Okay, motion made by Commissioner Kesey, seconded by Commissioner Kelly. All in, oh. Okay, so it fails. Is that correct? You need 4 votes?
Correct, motion fails.
Okay.
I'm sorry, but I voted the wrong way. I don't know why it highlighted red.
Okay, let's
It's been a
revote.
really bad day. I'm sorry.
Let's revote. Okay, passes unanimously. Thank you. Now we move on to, I believe, public presentations. Correct. Yes. Would any member of the public like to address an item or an issue that is not on the agenda tonight? Okay, seeing none. Let's move on to the public hearings. We'll go through these one at a time. Vice Chair Becker, will you introduce item number 2?
Yes, item number 2 is 19-1663, the public hearing action on use permit to allow a hydrogen vehicle fueling facility at 1375 Norman Avenue.
Okay, is there a presentation from staff?
Good evening, Planning Commission, Commissioners. This proposal is for a use permit to allow a hydrogen vehicle fueling facility on this 0.5 acre portion of an 11.6 acre site. The site is owned by Air Products. It is 11.6 acre property is consists of 4 contiguous parcels owned and operated by Air Products. Air Products provides and supplies industrial gases through separation of argon, oxygen, nitrogen from the air and distributes it to customers via pipeline and truck delivery systems. It is also a hydrogen supply hub that supports California Energy Commission efforts in the building and establishment of a hydrogen supply network of hydrogen fueling facilities to serve the fuel cell electric vehicle market in California. This is the existing project site. It's the portion that we're looking at is the 0.5 acre portion. It is undeveloped. There's just a gravel lot with minimal landscaping along the frontage, as you can see, surrounded by Air Products facilities, as you can see. Other properties surrounding the site include office, warehouse, and auto body uses, so it's located in the industrial sector. It does have 2 points of access to the site. There's 2 driveways that extend off of Norman Avenue that serve the site. The building in the back is an office building that serves Air Products. This is a site plan which doesn't really lend well to this PowerPoint presentation. However, what is proposed is to replace the gravel lot with asphalt to improve the public right-of-way with a new sidewalk and landscape improvements to provide 4 parking spaces on site, a fueling pad, which you see highlighted to the right, is a section drawing of the hydrogen fueling facility. It's a canopy with 2 hydrogen fueling dispensing units and an equipment enclosure. The equipment enclosure is about 40 feet by 10 feet by 10 feet, which will be surrounded by bollards. And the site is designed such that there won't be conflicts for traffic coming, whether it's the fueling dispensing trucks or whether it's customer services providing, seeking dispensing of the fueling. The fueling stations, there's two units that can handle up to 200 vehicles per day. These are the improvements that are proposed for the frontage of the property, so that the project would have a complete streets with a separated sidewalk and the addition of street trees. The proposal is conformance with the general plan. The project does improve the undeveloped portion of the site and would establish a new hydrogen vehicle fueling facility in the industrial sector to serve and support the electric fuel cell vehicle market. There's a slight error on this slide. I pick up an extra parcel to the north as part of the boundary, but it's just a slight error there. It is consistent with the heavy industrial zoning designation for the property. It is an ancillary use to the Air Products operations for the supply and distribution of fuels. This is the Air Products site, just in an aerial so you can see it a little bit clearer. It would operate 24/7. It would be unmanned, without an attendant or the provision of any customer services on the site. It will be remotely monitored by the Air Products equipment support team off-site at all times, and phone numbers will be provided on the dispensing units in the event that customers are in need of attendance. It does have fail-safe measures in the event of an emergency, and it does have the support team to monitor and maintain the facility. The project is exempt under CEQA. It's a categorical exemption of existing facilities under the 15301 exemption. It does just involve minor modifications to the existing facility. The applicant's here this evening, and they can provide any answers to questions that you may have regarding operations. That's the end of my presentation.
Thank you. Would the applicant like to make a presentation?
Oops.
Savitsky from Air Products is also here to answer questions. I also have to mention that I am a registered lobbyist here in Santa Clara, so you have that for the record. We want to thank staff, particularly Debbie, who's been working on this for a while and got us to hearing, so we appreciate that. And we are in agreement with the staff report and the conditions of approval, so we're really here to answer questions. So if you have any, I'm here for that.
Commissioner Kesey.
Thank you. So can you tell, I remember a couple years ago, this commission approved the building of a hydrogen production facility. Is this the same facility?
It is the same facility.
Oh, it's the same address?
Yes. And now the advance on this site is to then also be able to provide fueling at the site as well.
Okay. And so we had an extensive discussion back then, and I was convinced that the hydrogen production was a very safe facility. So the delivery to the fuel cell cars, how is the hydrogen delivered? I'm just asking for my own edification.
It operates very much like a gasoline fuel pump system. There is a operations plan in the packet that talks about exact things with it, but it operates very much the same way. Can be easily done by a customer. It is done by credit card payment and all that. So I don't know, Matt, if there's anything else to add to that. It's just a fueling facility.
I was wondering, is the hydrogen like frozen or compressed, or is it delivered in liquid form?
State your name.
Matt Savitsky, Air Products. The hydrogen dispensed to a consumer's vehicle would be in a compressed state similar to CNG, compressed natural gas. Much of the nozzle technology and hose technology is sort of a development from some of the CNG technology.
So it's delivered in the high compressed gas form?
As a compressed gas. Similar to CNG, the nozzle makes a gas-tight seal to the receptacle on the vehicle, so there's no possibility of vapor escaping during the fueling event, as might happen during a gasoline fueling.
So in the hydrogen production facility, I think there's somebody there to keep an eye on things. So is that the person who's going to come and look at the fuel pump if there's a...
So this facility, being just a retail style vehicle fueling facility, the intent is for it to be unmanned. The operation would be the same as you might see at a gas station, right, where a gas station may be manned or unmanned. The fueling event is initiated with a credit card payment. There are a number of automated safety features in the dispenser. There is leak detection in the dispenser with an exterior device. There is a flame detector. There is automation within the fueling process that detects leaks, that will stop periodically through the fueling event to detect leaks. As Ray mentioned, the station is monitored by the Air Products Equipment Support Team. So this is, I guess, an added layer of monitoring and safety that you wouldn't see at a normal gasoline station. The Equipment Support Team is basically, Air Products being an industrial gas supplier, we supply gases to a number of different industries, oxygen to hospitals, as an example. So the Equipment Support Team is able to, via wireless technology, monitor all of the facilities that Air Products has in North America.
I guess my question was, so if there's an emergency and somebody needs to be there, where's that person coming from?
Correct. Yes, so we have local technicians that would be deployed to the site.
In Santa Clara?
One is in, I believe, Palo Altos, and
For the plant operators too.
And like that-
we do have, the plan is otherwise manned 24/7.
Right,
So it's
that
the other
was my
side of the fence.
question.
Yes.
There is somebody, air products
Outside.
person there.
Yep,
Okay.
yes.
But, hydrogen could be you did explain that the production facility is very safe, but, there's nobody there. Hydrogen is a flammable gas.
It is a fuel.
Could
yes.
there be potential for vandalism that we have to worry about as a resident
Sure,
of Santa
and,
Clara?
and that is true. The dispensers are equipped with vibration sensors, earthquake sensors, earthquake switches. So in the event that someone were to vandalize the dispenser, it would shut off automatically. Even if there was no damage, it would sense somebody throwing something at it.
In a normally isolated state, so that if you came and like tore the hose off or something like that, you'd only relieve what was in that little section of piping. So the main supply is isolated from the dispensers.
Oh, okay.
Everything is, as Ray mentioned, is in a fail-safe. All valves fail-safe, meaning everything closes when it's powered down, not in operation or damaged.
What if somebody tries to go after the storage tank?
The storage tank is contained within a.
It's not underground, according to the report.
It is above ground, but it is contained within a. It's within a locked container. It's inaccessible to the public.
If I could add, it's also a little bit unique. We will have the bollards to protect from vehicle, have a metal enclosure to protect from, I'll call it ancillary vandalism. And then the tank itself is a double-walled steel vessel. So there's, the nature of the storage, it's a cryogenic storage vessel, so it's a giant thermos. There's actually 2 layers of steel that also protect the product from the outside. So that's essentially 3 to 4.
Okay, thank you very much.
Questions?
Oh, thank you.
Commissioner Kelly.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, are we just really just dealing with commercial vehicles, like city fleet vehicles, buses for the most part, or are we going to see, personal use vehicles at this location as well?
Most of the vehicles, the vast majority of vehicles, hydrogen vehicles on the road are consumer vehicles, personally owned vehicles.
Okay.
Okay. My understanding is that the project that we approved before was at 1700 Russell. That's your hydrogen production facility. Is that currently in operation now?
Yes, it is.
So you have the tanks there and the hydrogen's coming from Sacramento right now? And when will you start reforming methane?
We haven't set a date for that.
I see.
So
Okay.
if you recall, that project was a 3-phase
Yeah.
project. We are in phase 1.
Okay.
So,
Okay. And currently you're at 33% RPS for
yes, sir.
renewable hydrogen?
Yes.
Correct, okay. You will be tracking the California Renewable Portfolio Standards, so you'll be moving to 50%, 80%, 100% over time? Okay. Okay. That's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. I guess we'll open it up to the public. Would any member of the public like to comment on this project? A motion to close public hearing?
Motion to close public hearing.
Second?
Second.
Made by Commissioner Kelly. Oh, would you like to come forward and talk? Yeah, you have 2 minutes.
Hi, I'm Charlie. I work right across the street of the proposed property, And my number one question is about the safety. What if somebody tried to sabotage or 9/11 type of attack on there when it's a 24/7 and nobody's there? I think if you assume everybody a good customer, then you may not need to worry about, we are worried about that's a safety issue. Number two, I'm the property owner of the other side of the street. And considering various factors, I am not happy because it will significantly lower the value of my property right across. And number three, I have a few tenants, and even though those are a warehouse area, we work there. And my tenants, it's less attractive because of this fueling facility, and I don't know how this will affect my property and my interest because of that. And there will be definitely more traffic, and more traffic. The area is not so safe at night. I had a few people dumping furnitures and things in the area. We cannot catch them, but it happens, and more traffic and these things will definitely invite more things like that. So those are safety, and those are concerns. And yeah, that's all my questions.
Okay, I believe the applicant has 5 minutes to rebut the safety concerns. I would like to add my own comments from what I know about hydrogen. Hydrogen is extremely light. If it catches on fire, it just goes straight up. It doesn't expand like gasoline or diesel, but you can comment on that.
Want to go ahead and Steve?
No, sure. I mean, those are, thank you. Those are, we are very conscious of your concerns and share them, and have thought about these things. So on the, you're absolutely correct. It's got a specific gravity of 0.07, so it's significantly lighter than air. As far as the terrorist type vandalism, the container is actually bulletproof to small arms fire. And once you kind of escalate above that, that's a whole nother regime of protection that probably would have other risks associated. Meaning the hydrogen is not the biggest problem once you escalate to something above, small arms fire, so to speak. So that's kind of how we think about it. We design for a base layer of protection, and then once it escalates above that, it's just a different level. Like we once got a question, what happens if a plane crashes into your station? Hopefully we'd never have any plane crashes, but the jet fuel is a much bigger concern than the hydrogen. That point is kind of what I'm trying to say. So, and we do hope that this is a new, novel technology. We hope the improvement of the site actually improves the neighborhood. It's a tech-based sort of thing, so it hopefully escalates property values in time. I don't know if property value escalation is ever an issue in California, but
I think that we are making improvements, site improvements, frontage improvements with landscape. There'll be lighting there, which would also help with security. And honestly, I think with some additional traffic there, maybe you wouldn't have the dumping because there'll be actually more people in the street, and it wouldn't be a dark place where people will want to dump their furniture. So I think from a standpoint of property value and everything else, I don't see this as being an issue with this particular use source.
hopefully it's net positive for everybody.
To your point, we had the same problems on the opposite side of the property where we did the first phase of the project. As we went into construction, we've noticed vagrant activity and dumping of garbage, furniture, it stopped just because it was now more of an occupied site with daily activity. Increased activity, the increased lighting.
Thank you. And I might add that you're already in operation with your production facility, so there's already tanks there, correct? Hydrogen tanks? So this is just adding another tank, so there's already tanks there. All right, is there, Commissioner Ikezi?
Okay. Is there any possibility of contamination caused by your facility? Ground contamination?
No, as we said, hydrogen is lighter than air. When released,
So no ground contamination. Okay. Is there going to be a security camera operating on the facility? It's a 24/7. Oh, I see. Okay. Last question is not maybe directly relevant to the public's comment, but is the supplier of fuel cell vehicles expanding beyond Toyota? Oh, okay. Okay, so they're on they're available for people to buy, and they'll be purchasing fuel from you. Thank you.
Commissioner Kelly, did you have anything?
I just wanted to add, I also, like Commissioner Casey, would like to see security cameras. That said, your typical gas station that offers propane also, if somebody is intent on causing damage, can cause damage. Fortunately, we don't see those sort of situations very often. But if you would have people coming and going in with security cameras, it would make your neighbors feel better. Thank you.
Okay, motion to close public hearing,
So moved.
Second.
made by Commissioner Ikezi, seconded by Commissioner Kelly. We can just do a voice, or do you want to put it up? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Public hearing is closed. Any discussion?
I'll make a motion. Okay. I would like to make a motion that the City of Santa Clara approve the use permit to allow hydrogen vehicle fuel facility located at 1375 Norman Avenue in Santa Clara with, can we make a requirement for security cameras?
Yes, you can.
With a requirement that they have security cameras.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Commissioner Kelly, seconded by Ikezi. Oh, Commissioner Becker, would you like to have, I'm sorry.
I just have a question, really, maybe staff can answer this. I heard a lot with Councilmember Davis about a week or two, I think the last council meeting was talking about where the cannabis dispensaries are trying to put them in heavy industrial. And so they're talking about, though, how do we know what heavy industrial is when we're starting to convert heavy industrial neighborhoods? So my real only concern is the future might be converting this down the road to some type of housing. I could see it for foreseen future. Would a hydrogen station be able to be harmonious with a residential neighborhood, kind of like a gas station is with neighborhoods today are?
Well, those considerations are taken into account when we're evaluating industrial to residential conversion.
Okay.
But Air Products has been there a long time. They are a regional facility, so they serve all of Northern California, so it's doubtful that that particular property would be converted at any point in time on the horizon. So, but certainly it's something that's considered long-term when we look at land use conversion.
Okay. Please register your vote. Passes unanimously. Thank you. Okay, Vice Chair Becker, would you read the next item, item number 3?
Item number 3 is 19-098, the public hearing action on a variance from the parking requirement for the single-family residence at 648 Robin Drive.
Okay, staff presentation.
We're just bringing up the presentation, so Nimisha Agrawal will be giving that presentation for you in just 1 minute.
Good evening, Commissioners. Nimisha Agarwal, Assistant Planner 1. I've worked with the applicant on this project. I would be making the presentation. So this is the site, 648 Robin Drive. It is located in a predominantly one-story, single-family homes with attached one-car garages. The property is surrounded by single-story homes with one-car attached garages. The applicant is requesting a variance from the two-car parking requirement to allow an addition of 891 square feet, resulting in a 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom, one-story single-family residence, and they will be maintaining their existing one-car garage. The zoning of the property is R1-6L, single-family zone, which also requires which has a requirement for 2 covered parking spaces. The existing house was built in 1951, so it predates our code, and it is legal non-conforming. The parking is legal non-conforming on that side. The general plan designation is very low density residential, and the general plan also, pursuant to general plan, if existing residence expands beyond 500 square feet or beyond adds the 4th bedroom, they are required to provide the 2-car covered parking spaces. This is the site. The house in the middle is the one and here in subject. This is the site plan. As you can see, the addition is to the rear. The lot size is a little less than 6,000 square feet, which is 6,000 square feet is the standard lot in R1-6L. The lot width is 56 feet, whereas a standard width is 60 feet in R1-6L zone. So the lot is slightly substandard. The existing home is a 2-bedroom, 2-bath residence, and with side setbacks of 4 feet 8 inches on one side and 8 foot 7 inches on the other side. And they have an existing 1-car garage, which is 292 square feet. The proposal is to add 891 square feet to the rear, which would result in 4-bedroom and 3-bathroom. This would trigger the requirement to provide 2-car parking spaces, and the applicant is asking a variance for that. This would require us to make the findings as to for the variance to, which includes that there are unusual conditions applying to this property. However, as I mentioned, this whole tract was built as a one-story residence with 1-car attached garage. So there is no unusual condition applying to this property. Also, the applicant is adding this is a substantial addition. The existing house is almost doubling up. And the staff thinks that there may be alternative designs that can be pursued. For example, they have in this zoning district, the required setback is 5 feet, whereas if you see to the right, marked in red, they have 8 feet 7 inches available. So they have the option of expanding into that side setback while maintaining the 5 feet setback. Side setback, and they would still need to expand to the left into the main house. But given that this is a significant, substantial addition, we think that can be worked out. A new garage is required to be 20 feet by 20 feet interior. But with modification, we can allow up to a 17 feet width of the garage. So that can be looked into. I mean, it shouldn't be, it can be worked out is what we think. This is the floor plan. So as I said, existing residence is 937 square feet, and with the proposal, it would be 1,800 plus square feet. The project will be exempt from CEQA under existing facilities, category 15301. Our recommendation is to deny the variance because we think that there are alternative designs that can be worked out, and the staff cannot make findings as there is no unusual conditions applying to this property. That's the end of my presentation.
I believe that you said that there are some alternative designs. I think you said that on the right side, there's 3.5 feet of extra space that could be used. And so I guess my question is that if you put a 2-car garage on the front of this, is that aesthetically incompatible with the neighborhood? I mean, I know that sometimes we worry about houses look like just garage, 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 garage on the frontage. And then if you go back to your first slide, which showed the picture of the property, there, no, sorry, not first slide, this one. It seems to me that you can park 2 cars side by side in the front. And then I guess my question is, if you look at the house to the left, they don't even have a garage, right? So I guess my question is, I understand our rule is that if you're going to add more than 500 square feet, you have to add a second garage spot. So my question is that, is that a legitimate proposal to widen that garage area to make it 2 cars and, you know, go to a 5-foot setback on that side? Or is that something that's wouldn't even be accepted? I mean, you're proposing it, but is that a legitimate proposal given that none of the houses have 2-car garages?
Well, the simple answer to that is yes. It's because the zoning code really is an objective document. It really doesn't take into account the aesthetics. What we would do is apply reasonable aesthetics that would address the elevations and consistent use of materials, roof lines, that kind of thing, perhaps enhancing the porch. Other things can be done to help basically balance the prominence of the garage to the living area.
Mm-hmm.
So because it's in our code, every property is going to be faced with addressing the image or the aesthetics of a 2-car garage. So this wouldn't be any different.
Okay, okay. That's all I had. I believe there are some other questions. Commissioner Kelly, do you have a question?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions for staff. First, I have seen a couple 3-bedroom, like going from 2 to 3 bedrooms with sticking out 1-car garage, but I think this is the first one that I've seen asking for a variance with 4 bedrooms. Is that correct? Because most of the time they're going from 2 to 3.
No, if you don't exceed 3, you do not have to provide the second parking space. So the rule is either the interpretation that was done by the prior planning director was that it's either a 4th bedroom or more than 500 square feet. So it's an either-or situation. So either one would trigger the second parking space,
And
covered parking space.
during like the evening time, is there like existingly tight parking in the area already?
Mission, do you know?
I do not know about that.
Okay. I think that would be my concern, because a lot of these ones, and I actually live on a street where we have a lot of 1-car garages, and on the side with 1-car garages, most of the street side is filled up, but across the street where there are 2-car garages, there's open spots to park. So that would be my concern with this only having the one-car garage. Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Kesey.
Thank you. I think we've approved many remodeling in this neighborhood, which is full of one-car garage homes. Some of them, we even approved them on a consent calendar basis. But, am I correct to understand that the reason why you're making the recommendation that you're making is because of that extra space available on the side, because of the wider setback on the side?
Our recommendation is based on the fact that we are not able to make the findings because there is no unusual condition applying, and also because this is a substantial addition, and we think that there can be alternatives that can be worked out.
So I'm just trying to understand,
So yes, this one does have more of an ability to expand, and based upon the size, basically it says, is it unreasonable or is there practical difficulties? In this case, there is a reasonable option to expand, even at the point of a minor, right, of a minor modification, we can encroach up to 3 feet 9 inches. So that allows about an 18 or 19 wide garage, which would be sufficient. So there are reasonable options given the size of the expansion.
Okay, because I don't remember the exact numbers, but I mean, I've seen like a pretty significant addition in the back in this neighborhood, maybe not on Robin, but maybe on Mallory. But a lot of homes on those couple of streets have the similar type of expansion in the back, and they were pretty significant. But we always approved one-car garage. So I just wanted to make sure that the defining difference in the condition here is that extra space.
Yes.
Okay,
And each of those, I don't know the specifics for those, but we have probably more often than not supported variances. But in some instances, it is warranted if it meets the variance findings. But again, the variances are not done because someone else got one, it's appropriate here, or it's a similar situation. They're taken on a case-by-case basis, and each individual property has to meet all of the findings. So you will be required to do that tonight if you are voting in favor of the variance.
I understand that, but I just wanted to understand your reasoning of why you're making this recommendation. So thank you.
Okay, seeing no other questions, would the applicant like to present?
Hi, my name. Sorry.
On the street side, the homes, yeah, and the other is on the opposite side.
Thank you very much. My name is Sean Randolph. This is my wife, Jessica, and this is our architect, Sanchali. First, I'd just like to say thank you to Gloria and Amisha for working with us, and thank you all for letting us come for you and try to make our case here. I understand that the Planning Commission or Committee has some issues, and I hope that we can address them for you. I'm going to be reading off my paper just so I don't forget anything. So we purchased this two-bedroom house around nearly 10 years ago with the intention of adding an extension to it as our family crew. Now with 2 young boys and a grandma that stays over to take care of them, we're looking to give all of us enough space. There are 2 main points I'd like to make. The first is that the variance is in line with others that have been done in our neighborhood. We have, as you heard, a substandard narrow lot, and a 2-car garage would require drastic changes to the layout, eating into our living room and widening the front of our house to be closer to our neighbors. In addition, it would add significant cost to the project and would put it outside of our budget. We're not talking about just pushing in a few feet. We're removing an entire fireplace. Like, it is a significant cost increase, and we're already at the limit of what we're trying to do. Our proposed addition is entirely in the rear of the house and doesn't change the street-facing look of it. This allows us to increase our living space while remaining consistent with the look of the rest of the neighborhood. In addition, we don't intend to be adding any new cars to our house as a result of the expansion, and there is plenty of street parking on Robin Drive. We have identified multiple comparable variances that have been approved in the last year and are just looking to make equivalent improvements to our property. In our meeting with the Planning Committee, we were informed that the criteria that they used for their findings had recently changed, and that's why the Planning Committee wasn't able to support a variance. As recently as December of last year, less than a week before we were first contacted by the Planning Committee, a similar variance request was approved with the support of the Planning Committee. The second point is that there is an update to the zoning code in process that we understand may allow this type of change to be done without a variance. We confirmed with the city representative that the potential change to the zoning code would allow for expansions of existing one-car garage houses without getting a variance. Unfortunately, this update may not be finalized until next winter. But this shows that the future direction of the zoning code will allow for exactly the type of variance we're looking for. So just to wrap up, we hope that you find this request reasonable, given that's in line with past precedent and the future direction of the zoning code updates. Thank you for your time, and let us know if you have any questions.
Commissioner Kesey.
Thank you for coming to today's meeting. So did you talk with the architect and contractor about, I mean, we don't usually talk about cost, but this is a completely different side of the house from where you want to do the remodeling. Did you talk about how much, you know, I mean, what will it take to redo your garage?
It will be a significant cost because we are not only expanding to the right, but also into the living room. And then the lost space of the living room has to be now, you know, recouped somewhere else. So we are talking about quite a bit of relayout. And their basic requirement is just a 4-bedroom house because of their two, children and the visiting mom. So that is what they're trying to achieve. A significant amount of the budget will just go in all this relayout because of the 2-car garage. So.
And do you have to change the roof line to?
Yes, of course.
Okay,
yes.
Thank you.
I may add on that point as well. We're trying to do this in this addition in a way that impacts our neighbors in the least amount possible. And you saw from the picture, it is pretty close to our neighbor. And so we're trying to, if we did have to add a 2-car garage, we're just getting closer and closer to that property line with our neighbor and making it more intrusive for them as well. So allowing us to extend just in the back where it's just in our backyard helps, minimize the impact to our neighbors as well.
Thank you.
Commissioner Kelly.
Okay. Most of the requests that we've sent and staff has commented on, they have been landlocked, and you do have the space. And you're basically doubling the size of your home. You are changing your roof line. Having been through the exact same thing with a home that was about 1,050 square feet, and then now it's about 2,000 square feet, I ended up putting in a 2-car garage. And one of the reasons I did that is I didn't want to burden my neighbors. It was a challenge, and I understand where you're coming from because during that time, it was a downturn, and I was trying to find a way to finish the construction off. That said, if your extension was like around 400, 450 square feet, I wouldn't feel uncomfortable with it, but you're adding basically another house, and you're going to a 4-bedroom, 3-bath house, and you're going to assume a large family is going to live there, and what we hear on a regular basis is people parking in the streets, in which I would assume that if you only have a 1-car garage, that's also going to have storage in it, and most likely your car's not even going to be parked in the garage. So I'm having a hard time justifying doubling the size of your house without expanding your garage.
Okay. 2 points there. One, our house compared to the neighborhood is actually pretty small, 950-ish square feet. Like if you look at the rest of the neighborhood, it tends to be 1,200, like 1,300 square feet. So, this, while it is almost doubling our house, it is not making much bigger than, comparable properties in our neighborhood. Also, as someone mentioned, I believe, they said it might be possible to park 2 cars in our current driveway. It definitely is. We've done that on multiple occasions. If there's street sweeping or something like that. So, I don't think that's going to be an issue because we have the available parking there. And I can only just say what we see on our street. Like parking isn't an issue. There's plenty of open parking in front of our house and in front of our neighbor's house. Like it's a pretty quiet neighborhood.
The other important point on that as well is that we're expanding the house, or we're looking to expand the house just to accommodate our own family. We have a couple of small kids. And so, even though we're going to have more, we'd like to have more interior room in our house to address that, there's not going to be any additional cars that we're adding to the family that would contribute to the parking situation. So we totally understand why, you may be hesitant to approve something like this, making sure that we're not negatively impacting the parking for all of our neighbors in the neighborhood. But I did just think it was important to make that point too, right?
Can I make a comment just real quick? All right. I love my neighbor next door. Their kids are now in college. Along with the parents, there's 4 cars now. They have a 1-car garage. They park back to back, and then there are 2 cars in the street. Now, you just said you have 2 young kids. The common thing is families grow, they mature, and although I would love to see more self-driving car, and less people are having cars of possession and use it more of a service, in the short term, when we see somebody doing a substantial remodel and you have the room, I have concern that, when we allow people to do a variance when they have the room, it's not the same as when they are landlocked. Because some of these 1-car garages, they are landlocked and they don't have the expansion. And staff made a good point that you actually have the room and it is a substantial expansion. And that's my concern about your project versus some of the other projects that have come in front of us. So I would encourage working with staff to try to find a resolution, either have a smaller expansion or come up with an option where you expand your parking. Because you actually have the room, where a lot of these homes that have 1-car garages don't have the room without doing major changes to the way the floor plan would be. It would be easier for you to do it than other people. And I went through the same thing. And I put the 2-car garage in.
If you look at the previous variances that were approved, all of us, all of the houses like in our area are substandard narrow lots.
But yours has 8.5 feet versus the standard 5-foot setback on the side.
Well, our neighbors as well have like an additional side there.
As did I, and I used part of that to put in my garage.
I understand. I'm just saying that we're looking for the variance that is in line with our neighborhood and that our neighbors have done. And we, as to your point, we do have 2 small children. They will probably grow up to be drivers, but they're going to be driving whether we have a 2-family home or a 4-family home. So, or sorry, a 2-bedroom home or a 4-bedroom home.
All right, thank you.
Okay, I don't see any more questions. I would like to open it up to the members of the public. Would anyone like to speak on this item?
Okay.
Seeing none.
Sorry, can I make one more point?
Let me close public hearing. You have 5 minutes of rebuttal, I believe, after that.
Rebuttals before you close.
Oh, okay. All right, so you have 5 minutes of rebuttal, I guess, yeah.
Sorry about that.
They're entitled to the time
Yeah,
if they
they're
want it.
entitled to the time.
So we do have some examples of variances that were approved in the last year that were significant in size. They had the same lot size, and we have examples to construct a 980 square foot addition to the rear of the house. So these previous variances, and this was in August of last year, so these variances have been approved, even with these substantial additions. That's the point.
Can you tell us what street that was?
Yes, this was Armanini. This is the street actually right behind ours.
Okay.
And there are two more. This was a variance approved for 809 square feet addition, and this street is in Wright Avenue, and it's the same substandard lot. And this was also approved in September 26, 2018. The third is a variance which was approved in August 22nd, 2018. And this one is for adding of, I think, 1304.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Motion to close public hearing?
Second.
Motion to close. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Hey, Commissioner Becker.
I looked on the satellite map right now and went up and down the street, and I think I found one house with a 2-car garage on it. And I feel that if we did push for a second car garage on this neighborhood, it would put the neighborhood it put it off. And also, if you look at it too, if some of the houses in the neighborhood, there are 2 stories with a single garage like that as well. I understand about cars, growing up, my brother and I, we had to share a car when we got into high school for a while, and then we did have to actually have 2 separate cars. So I do understand that issue about the parking. But overall, I see this as, somebody that just wants to expand their house. We're running out of space here, and they just want to grow their family. So I would motion to approve the variance.
Which is, the current thing is, the current resolution is to deny the variance. So you would be voting no on the motion. Is that correct?
And we would need to enumerate the findings. The commission would have to spell those out on how the project meets the findings.
Mr. Chair, he's free to bring the opposite motion of what staff's recommendation is. But yeah, as Ms. Shar said, if it passes, we'll need to ask you some findings.
Okay. Commissioner Kelly.
Okay. Quick question for staff. I assume none of the neighbors responded to the notices. Is that correct? Okay. And the applicant didn't provide any letters of support from any of the surrounding neighbors?
We have not received any letters of support either.
I think at this point, what I would like to be fair with them, because without any support from some of the surrounding neighbors, I'd like to give them opportunity to go to some of the surrounding neighbors to see if there is support and give them a continuance. And that way, there'll be more, hopefully, planning commissioners here, because I don't think, I feel comfortable with the doubling when they have the space, but if they came back with support from some of their surrounding neighbors, then I would feel more comfortable with granting the variance. So from your shaking head, you'd like to have a continuance so you could get the letters of support from your neighbors?
We've talked with our neighbors about this, and they are supportive. Actually, I think it's on Robin 659. They got their variance like 2 years ago. They're just finishing up their construction, and they were rooting for us to come here today. So, I know that we'll get approval, for it. But
If you could just go to the immediate neighbors, the neighbor behind you, on each side of you. If they don't want to do a letter, just have them sign your plans, just so if they acknowledge it, neighbor across the street acknowledges it, I'll feel a lot more comfortable with granting the variance.
Gotcha. Sorry, I didn't realize that was something that we could do.
It's not something that's required. It's just something that shows that your neighbors are comfortable with your expansion.
Understood.
Okay, Commissioner Ikezi.
Yes, I am in support of approving this without requiring the second garage because of so many similar projects that we approved in this neighborhood with just one garage. And another thing I see on this property is that the driveway is wide enough to accommodate second car, that the car that's in the garage can pull out without the other car having to move out of the way. So I think there's already plenty of parking on this home. However, I like the proposal that the suggestion that Commissioner Kelly is making, which is to continue this item if the applicant would like to, and so that the applicant can get support from the neighbors, have them either show up at the next hearing or have a sign sheet that shows that the neighbors do support this project. Because unfortunately, we only have 4 commissioners today. So if a single commissioner disagrees, then it's not going to go through.
So I want to remind the applicant that because we have only 4 commissioners, you can request a continuance if you would like. Otherwise, we're going to move to a vote.
Commissioner, Chair Jane, just to also remind the commission in general that we would still ask you to make the findings in order prior to making your motion, whatever that is, if it's in favor of the variance. We would still need to have that in writing so we can reconstitute another resolution.
Correct. Would you like to
do the continuance?
It's your choice.
I would like to.
Okay. Well, we have to grant it, right?
There's still a motion on the floor to approve, although it hasn't been seconded, but you will need to make a motion to continue once that motion is dealt with. If there's no second, it dies.
I guess I'm confused because if the applicant wants to continue, we don't have a choice to vote because they're just going to continue. We have to grant it.
But there is a motion on the floor right now.
You need to dispense with the motion that's on the floor as to whether or not you have to grant the continuance. We grant that privilege to applicants at the start of the meeting so that we can save time and give them an opportunity to have a fuller commission. Here, we've already spent the time. So it's discretionary. You are free to continue it, but not required.
I see. Okay.
Well, I do not support the motion. I'm not going to second it.
Okay, so the motion was to
approve, so you would need a second to that motion
to
hold
approve
a
the
vote
variance.
and also construct your findings.
Correct. And I don't see a second, so it fails. All right. So would someone like to make a motion for a continuance?
And before you do that, I'm sorry to complicate things further. If you're going to move to continue, I'm going to ask that you first vote to reopen the public hearing. Because if you don't reopen first, we will have to expend money renoticing. I'm sorry for the extra step.
I make a motion to reopen the public hearing.
Second.
Okay, motion
Do that through the,
to reopen made by Ikezi, seconded by Kelly.
Yeah, to reopen
Can
the
we
public
just do
hearing.
that through a voice vote?
Yeah, it can be a voice vote.
A voice vote's fine?
Right,
Yes.
just to
Okay.
reopen the public.
All in
hearing.
favor?
Sorry, she put it in.
Oh, she has it.
Okay.
Here we go. You can vote for real. Passes unanimously. Okay, now do we have a motion to continue?
And I would propose a date certain of either March 13th or April 10th.
Motion that.
The applicant have a preference?
Could I ask the planning manager which agenda will be fuller?
We have currently a very light agenda for March 13th. I cannot guarantee that, but it looks fairly light,
Okay.
which may cause another wrinkle if we don't hold that hearing. But it from a workflow standpoint, it shouldn't be problematic to add it to that
Okay.
agenda.
Okay.
motion.
A motion to continue to March 13th.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Kezi, seconded by Becker.
Okay, so
Okay,
we'll be-
passes unanimously.
Mhm.
Did you have something?
No, I'm sorry.
Oh.
We're just going to move on to the next public hearing item.
Okay,
Colton
so-
Avenue.
We'll see you again March 13th. Thank you. Okay, Vice Chair Becker, would you like to announce item number 4?
Yeah, item number 4, which is 19-151, the public hearing action on a conditional use permit for BMI Fitness to allow a gym at 1678 Coleman Avenue.
Thank you. Staff presentation.
The item before you this evening is a use permit for a gym located at 1678 Coleman Avenue. This is different than your typical gym because it is by appointment only. Hours of operation range from early morning, 6:30 a.m. to 8 p.m. daily. The facility is called BMI Fitness. They filed their application in September of 2018, and this is actually a legalization of the gym. They did start operating in at least March 2015 when the property owner, that's when the city became aware of the business at this location, as the property owner was cited for unpermitted tenant improvements related to the gym and the building's conversion from industrial to the gym use. As I mentioned, the gym operates as a by appointment only facility and has an average class size of 4 people. Based on the information they provided, their standard is about 4 patrons of the gym and 4 trainers at any given time. Here's a street view of the site. There are 2 existing industrial buildings. The foremost building is approximately 5,000 square feet. That is where BMI is located. And the rear building is a multi-tenant industrial building. And both buildings do share the parking. So this is a site plan, so you can see the full site layout. So you can see the other multi-tenant building with the BMI Fitness building toward the front of the site with the shared parking. So based on the city's parking requirements, there's no specific standard for gym facilities. So the zoning administrator determined that parking for gyms should be provided based on recreational enterprises. So that's 1 parking space per 200 square feet. So based on approximately 4,155 square feet of instruction area and staff office areas within the gym, a total of 21 parking spaces would be required. However, as there is the other building occupied on site, the landlord has only allotted BMI Fitness 16 parking spaces. Therefore, the applicant is requesting a minor modification for a parking reduction to allow a 25% reduction to the required parking. So in order to support this request, staff did request a parking analysis of the applicant. They did provide that. It was prepared by Hexagon Consultants and was an attachment to the staff report. So as part of the study, Hexagon conducted parking counts during one typical weekday between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. So that was considered peak use of the site because the other industrial buildings or industrial tenant are typically in operation on a weekday midday. So it was concluded that only a total of approximately 8 parking spaces would be needed at any given time for BMI Fitness. And so based on the fact that the landlord has provided 16 parking spaces for BMI Fitness, staff is supporting the request for modification. So staff would grant the minor modification should the Planning Commission approve the use permit. So the general plan of this area on Coleman is Station Area Plan. And so the area plan is really intended for residential uses. And so we found the project is consistent with some of the area plan policies, specifically that it would provide a residential and a use to the future residential uses in the area, and an additional amenity to future residents. The zoning designation of the property is light industrial. So a gym is identified as a conditional use in the light industrial zoning district, therefore necessitating the subject use permit. So based on the parking analysis that was provided, as well as the project's consistency with the general plan, staff is recommending approval of the use permit.
Okay, I have some questions. I don't know if you have page A2 of the drawings there. It shows the floor plan. Well, I'll describe it if you don't have it there. It says there are 2 rooms. One is there are 2 instruction areas. One is 2,230 square feet. And it says the occupant load is 2,230 divided by 100, which gives it 23 people. And then the other instruction area is 1,710 square feet. If you divide by 100, you get 17. So what's listed here is an occupant load of 40 based on this analysis. Now, you had said that really you use for fitness areas 1 person per 200 square feet. So I'm confused about the 2 numbers.
That's from a parking standpoint, but this is basically a building code ratio. That's all.
Well, what I'm saying is that if you have 40 people coming to work out, which is the maximum load, then you're probably going to have about 35 cars.
Okay, but the occupant load is not what's being approved under the use permit. We are restricting the number of attendees based upon the parking because she gave us a project description. So this may be, I mean, we could eliminate this writing. This is strictly what's allowed under the building code, but the use permit can specifically restrict the number of participants at any one time.
I didn't see that. I didn't see a restriction because right now it says that they have sort of one-on-one fitness training, but they do allow for classes. Right now their classes are small, probably because the place has not been modified to current code and so on. It's not really a legal establishment. So my question is, if they did have full classes there, they could conceivably have 30 cars.
Yes, but we should be restricting that under the use permit based upon the number of vehicles and her operational statement. So they're specific to the operation, not necessarily the building.
No, I didn't see that in the conditions.
Okay, so
to
then,
limit the number of attendees.
right. So that's something that we should be including, or we can just adopt the operational statement as part of the use permit. So that limitation would be set based upon her statement that she gave us.
Yeah,
Also,
because
oh, sorry,
I didn't really believe the hexagon numbers at all, based on the size of the facility. And conceivably, if you want to make money, you want to have more than, that many participants. But, since it is, so far it's been more like personal training, but it does allow for classes in the use permit.
So to be clear, the business has been in full operation since at least March 2015. They have a website up, which I viewed. They advertise their classes. So this is just the information that Hexagon provided us as far as highest use of the property during peak hours, considering the other use of the other building on the site.
Okay, so those are my questions to staff. We're still waiting to hear from the applicant. Are there any more questions of staff by commissioners? Okay, would the applicant like to present?
So the applicant is not here.
Oh, the applicant's not here.
No.
Okay.
So if you have options to get more information on that and continue this one, or to place restrictions on the permit and make sure that they're enforced. You may want to ask questions of the person as well and ask about the classes.
It doesn't make sense for me to put conditions on it without having the applicant here. I guess I would prefer to continue this item.
We did expect the applicant here, so in the absence of that, to ask those questions directly, that would be.
Yeah, because
continuing
it's really not clear to me how many people are going to be there, and the number of parking is not sufficient for a facility of this size if it's full with a big Zumba class or whatever. Yeah.
I make a motion to continue this item.
Is there a second?
Second.
Again, I would
Continue
suggest
to a specific date.
March 13th or April 10th.
March 13th is light. Yeah.
March 13th.
That with authority.
Can staff, before the next meeting, have like code enforcement just take a drive-by and see how crowded it is during like 6 or 7 like peak times that you would expect people to be there right after work, and see how crowded it is?
Hexagon went over there and they did that. And it's in the report.
All right. I know at my gym, I can't find a parking spot.
In the report. Okay, so motion made by Commissioner Ikezi, seconded by Becker. We can vote on it. Okay, passes unanimously. Continued to the 13th. Next item, Commissioner Becker.
Yes, the next item is public, item 5, 19-1674, the public hearing action on use permit for a proposed massage establishment at 2529 Scott Boulevard.
Okay, staff presentation.
Hi, this is Ella Karachian. I'm going to present this project. So the proposal is to get a use permit to allow conversion of an existing acupuncture office to a massage establishment. The tenant space is about 1,200 square foot, and they are thinking to have 1 cashier space, 1 waiting room, 1 office, and 1 consulting room, and 4 treatment spaces within the plan layout. And the proposed hours of operations are going to be Monday to Friday from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. This is the site location, and as you can see, the tenant space is within a 6,600 square foot retail shopping center on a 25,000 square foot site. And the site is bounded by Scott Boulevard and Martin Avenue. And also the surrounding uses are mostly offices and industrial buildings. The general plan designation is low intensity office, and the proposed use is consistent with the policy of the general plan, which is provide a mix of retail and uses and commercial uses to meet the needs of local customers within the neighborhood. And the zoning of the property is light industrial. However, the existing retail shopping center at this location was approved in 1990 under a use permit, and the use permit allows and supports commercial uses in this location. Currently, the site has about 39 parking spaces, and based on the building square footage, only 34 spaces are needed. The proposed use meets all of the current code requirements. So the massage establishment may not be operated within 500 feet of schools and motels and all of the single-family uses and all of the uses mentioned there. And anyone who is working there and offering a massage shall have a California Massage Therapy certificate. And also, in order to operate, they need to get a use permit. On November 2007, on November 27, 2018, City Council directed the staff to amend the massage ordinance to change the requirements, but at this time, those changes are not adopted. So this project is subject to the current code. In order to grant the use permit, we need to make the use permit findings. And this proposed use is meeting the use permit findings in that it will provide an additional service for the segment of population in this location. And the proposed use is not detrimental to the health and general welfare of the people living and working there. So a staff recommendation is to adopt a resolution approving this use permit to allow the conversion of the existing acupuncture store to a massage establishment. And the applicant right now is proposing to only kind of hire 2 massage patrols to help them in offering the acupuncture services. And the whole service that they are offering is also attached as part of the staff report. So that would conclude staff presentation.
Commissioner Kezi.
Thank you. Let's see now, what was I going to ask you? Did we put a moratorium on massage places when
Yes, so as mentioned, we are working on a new regulations for the massage ordinance, and it's coming to Planning Commission on May 22nd.
Right, but was there a moratorium in the meantime? I can't
think
remember.
It's
No.
technically
so.
not,
Not a
not a moratorium. There were new regulations that were passed that don't go into effect until, I don't know the exact date, but that was pushed out a bit also. So new massage establishments will have to comply with the new regulations, but they haven't kicked in yet.
Right. Okay. So we didn't put a moratorium in place while we were examining the new, okay, I understand.
And the existing ones would be grandfathered in if they are in compliance with some of the requirements of the police department.
Okay, all right. So this is not So this is a brand-new business? It's not?
No, there is an existing, they have an existing
what-
acupuncture. So.
What I meant was, the applicant is opening a brand-new business at this location.
They already have an acupuncture office.
Oh, the same owner?
Yeah, but they want to hire 2 massage patrols to help them offer their acupuncture service.
Oh, so massage is going to augment their existing acupuncture business?
The acupuncture business will stay, but in order to hire someone to help them offer the massage as part of the acupuncture, they also require to get the massage, the use permit.
Oh, okay.
Based on the code.
Okay. I don't know how, but I missed that in the report. Okay. So this sounds like a very legitimate business. So my question is not personal. It's not about this owner, but I mean, we've had that massive scandal in Florida. So how does the city regulate the massage establishments to make sure that there aren't any illegal activities going on and et cetera?
It's mostly the police department kind of like activity. They will go into different massage stores uncovered and check them based on regularly. And also, if we receive any complaints, we will send code enforcement employees to go there.
So is there like a regularly scheduled inspection visits?
I believe it happens on a regular basis.
Not by the county, but the city police?
But city police, yeah, city police.
Commissioner Casey, if I can just mention this too, that a few years ago, the state of California took over the task of licensing massage practitioners. So they lobbied state legislature. There were laws passed that basically said that there would be a California Board of Massage Therapy. And so they require certain performance standards, licensing, and then they go through a background check. And so they have to maintain that licensure in order to practice. And those are the only ones that are considered legitimate practitioners. And so they have to submit that license to the police department. And so anyone that works in a bona fide massage establishment has to have that licensure, or they would be out of compliance. And that's how the enforcement takes place.
So according to the report, the owner plans to hire massage
therapists, yes.
After the use permit, if they get the use permit, right? So is it part of the city permitting process to require that the
yes
they
all have to provide the licensure, and they go through a background check, and they have to register with the police department. They have to renew those licenses every year, I believe.
Okay, so we don't even need to make it the condition of the permit to review this?
No,
okay.
They cannot practice unless they are licensed by the state of California.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, this came before us probably 4 years ago, and we went over this and we restricted it. It could not be within 500 feet of all of these other facilities, which I thought it was a little onerous because it also covers spas. Like they have all these fancy spas in Los Gatos and Palo Alto. And so, and it's a common gift that, parents give to teachers for, at the end of the year for schools and everything. And I believe that the requirements for any establishment has a minimum level of lighting inside the rooms, and that the licenses have to be posted at the front door, and the therapists have to have their licenses with them. So I believe that we've put in enough protections to ensure that we don't have shady businesses in Santa Clara. So I believe it's the applicant's turn to speak.
Are actually adding this use permit for massage purposes, but it's based on treatment plan. It's not for comfort, it's for help with treatments. we're still an acupuncture clinic and not fully just for comfort massage. We're specialized in pain management, and usually our patients are from auto accident, like when their workers come, when they got hurt, or sport injuries. We're looking to add this because we wanted to hire a massage therapist just to be part of the treatment plan, because we only have one single acupuncturist right now, and by only him doing it, it's not as effective based on the treatment because he's the only one using doing the acupunctures and massage. That's why we're looking to add it.
Okay, any questions of the applicant? Would any member of the public like to speak on this item? Seeing none, do you have any more comments?
Motion
Okay.
to close public hearing?
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Actually, most people know the massage can help the pain or something, but the acupuncture never try. But sometimes we need doing is their pain, we need doing massage to relax to the muscles. Then doing acupuncture is to help to stop this pain. Sometimes, for example, last time I went to the UFC fighter the gym. I do the acupuncture for them, but they're so scared because they're never try. But if I doing massage and the acupuncture together, they will be feel, oh, I feel much better. Actually, I work, I treatment for the US fighter in China. So in China and Japan, also is massage and acupuncture all together. Treatment is the whole treatments. This I'm learning from China. So yeah. That's why I need to add is the massage therapy to help them to stop their pain. Is getting them better. Yeah, that's the whole. Hopefully, to getting people is getting better. Yeah.
Yeah, so the massage actually loosen up the muscle and make the blood circulation better and the qi energy in their body to make the acupuncture more effective. It actually loosen out the acupuncture point, which usually when there's pain, there's a blockage there. So in order, when you actually do the massage, or we call it acupressure, it actually breaks the muscle down. And so when you put the needle in, it makes it more effective.
Thank you.
Motion to close public hearing?
Second.
Made by Commissioner Kelly. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, any discussion?
I make a motion to approve this.
Second.
Okay, Commissioner Kizzy, Commissioner Kelly. Passes unanimously. Okay, we move on to item number 6, selection of a planning commission secretary.
Yeah, nominate Commissioner Salah.
Nominate somebody that's not here.
Second.
I don't know. Can we do that?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't know if he really.
What?
Sorry. Oh,
For somebody that's here.
yeah. Or I was going to say the other day when we were at the other meeting, he was like, oh, I really don't want to read all that stuff. And I'm like, oh, because I was going to nominate him secretary too, but we'll discuss that in another meeting. Sorry.
Okay, so I'm struggling here. I feel very uncomfortable nominating someone without their presence, But I guess they could resign, and then we would do it again, or can we just push it to the 13th like everything else?
It's going to be a long meeting, but you are free to continue it.
I can nominate myself.
Okay. All right. We don't need a second.
Correct.
So we will vote as we did before. We have one candidate, as far as I can see.
So the nomination of Commissioner Salem was withdrawn, or were you just kidding?
Oh, no, I
'cause
guess
there's two nominations.
someone nominated him, so I guess.
I think he
we will
hasn't done
have-
it yet, correct?
No, he hasn't. I just felt uncomfortable doing that. So since Commissioner Ikezi has also thrown her hat into the ring, so we have two candidates, I guess. So we will vote as we did before, Salem Ikezi first. So, so as we did before, you will.
Are you sure that Commissioner Salem wanted to be nominated?
I don't know when.
I think we'd have to go through that nomination
Wanted,
process right now.
Didn't he want vice chair?
I thought he wanted to be the
you
vice.
wanted the vice chair.
He wanted to be vice chair. I see, that's what I'm saying. I feel very uncomfortable
We don't
putting
have
him
to
up
have
for
two.
a.
We can only go through, if you are supportive of the one nomination, you can just vote on that. You don't have to have a second nomination.
But then someone has to withdraw their nomination.
I withdraw my second on nomination of Commissioner Salem.
Okay. But I don't think we needed to have seconds on nominations, but I believe you nominated Commissioner Salem.
Because that's
Would
kinda
you
how
like to
we-
withdraw it, or would you like to keep it in?
I'll withdraw it, that's fine.
All right, so we have one candidate.
Usually
Okay,
it's kind of like your secretary before your vice chair, then your vice chair, then your chair.
I understand. I'm just saying
Let's
that.
just go through with this.
Okay, so we have one nominee, Commissioner Ikezi. Please register your vote for Commissioner Ikezi.
No, it was
We don't need
Commissioner
a-
Ikezi was the mover, and there is no second because it's a nomination for office.
I thought it was seconded anyway.
It was, but it's not
not
necessary.
necessary.
I mean,
Yeah. Congratulations, Commissioner Ikezi.
I think we need an acceptance speech.
All right.
Okay, so now we move on to report from the, what is going on here? Report from the planning manager, I believe. I'm confused. Let me see the agenda. We did board or committee assignments. Are there any reports from architectural review? Actually, Attorney Abby, could you tell us what's going on with our ARC? There was
That's
some
at the
due
end of the
due
agenda.
process. Oh, it's
Mhm.
agendized. Okay.
We
Oh, there it
continue.
is, number 4. Yeah. Okay. Commissioner. Okay. So we have any reports from Architectural Committee? No. Commissioner Travel and Training reports. I would like to report that I attended the State of the Valley a couple of weeks ago, and just some interesting facts there that last year they added 80,000 new jobs in the Bay Area. The average worker earns $139,000 in Silicon Valley compared to the US average of 68,000. So pretty much exactly half. And The median, which is lower in Silicon Valley, is 118,000. There are, believe it or not, 87,000 millionaires in the Bay Area and 50 billionaires. One of the issues is that Japan, which has an aging population, has 125 million people and 4 million with dementia. That number will double in the next 10 years. So it's a crisis that is hitting almost every population, and we have to figure out how to deal with that. Measure HHH is adding 10,000 supportive housing units, which may help. And then Measure H has a sales tax for mental health. And so there's some things that we're trying to do. And there was a really great speech by Eric Garcetti, who is the mayor of Los Angeles, just a fabulous speaker. And then John Meacham was the keynote speaker. That's all I have to report. So request to what? Attend trainings? Commissioner Kizzy, did you have?
Yeah, since we're gonna be, is the marijuana dispensary permit, is that something the Planning Commission is going to review?
Yes, we are working on the cannabis, basically permitting process, and there will be zoning code amendments related to that.
Okay.
So just recently, that was one of the updates I was going to give you. It's just that there was basically a study session with council to get feedback on, ask for feedback related to the number of permits, the locations, and just overall the activities. Again, this is the State of California Cannabis Licensing Board. It's a similar state control, and so there are certain activities, and having that council weigh in on those potential land uses.
Thank you. So I understand that the cannabis business is changing rapidly, so I plan to attend HempCon on March 8th. It's up in Cal Palace, just to see what's going on in that business. And to Commissioner Jane's point, Japan, I'm originally from Japan, they have the exact opposite problem that we do. They have more and more vacant homes with nobody claiming ownership. Nobody's paying to demolish them, so they're becoming, they're turning into blights. And there are condo associations where there are so many vacancies and not enough people paying into the HOA, so they can't afford to repair the building. So it's really interesting what happens when you have exactly the opposite. It's exactly opposite of what we're seeing in our community.
Thank you. Okay, Director of Community Development reports.
So the first item we have on your agenda for under this tab is the Planning Commission budget. So you should have a copy of that in front of you. And so currently we do have probably one other outstanding bill, but approximately you have about $4,700 left in this budget that goes up to June 30th.
But that, we haven't budgeted in, I think we approved $4,500 last time for conference attendances, hotels and everything. So that's not really accounted in here, is that correct?
Did you include that in?
Correct. Yeah.
We don't have the other incidental costs yet, but we have one night hotel for Commissioner Kelly. So
Correct. I'm just saying that
you budgeted that, but we didn't take that whole amount because that whole amount won't be used.
I guess my question is that this is sort of our cash accounting method instead of sort of accrual, or doesn't account for expected expenses, right? So we're expecting a significant amount of more expense for air travel and hotels on top of just the conference registrations.
I don't think there is any air travel for which conference are you talking about?
We have two conferences, one in San Francisco and one in Santa Barbara.
Yes, and an email went out to all commissioners and nobody replied that they would be attending.
Which brings up the issue that we discussed at the mayor's dinner. Who's attending what conference in the next?
So I just wanted to clarify, the Santa Barbara conference, the state conference, is in the fall.
Okay.
So we would be looking at a different fiscal year.
Yeah.
So the budget in front of you will carry you through the end of June. The one conference that individuals have expressed interest in is the National APA Conference, which this year happens to be in San Francisco.
Right.
In our previous conversations at a prior hearing, I think Commissioner Kelly had indicated staying overnight one night, but Chair Jane did not necessarily indicate an interest in doing so. The balance that's indicated on the sheet doesn't take into account the hotel stay, but I do think the registrations are accounted for. So there's, I think if you subtract conservatively $1,000 from what that number is, the 4,000 something, you still have approximately over $3,000 to be able to expend by the end of June.
So Commissioner Jane and Kelly are attending the APA in San Francisco. Is anyone attending the League of City conference, or?
We didn't get a response back.
Oh, okay, so those are the only two commissioners planning to go for any training over the next, until the close of this fiscal year. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
If the commission so chooses to send more individuals to the National APA Conference or propose additional trainings, that's your prerogative as well.
So we've expressing interest. So.
We've approved 4,500 for up to 3 commissioners at the APA and 1,500 for 1 commissioner to the League of California Cities. So possibly we'll have a new commissioner that we will send to one of those.
The League of California Cities training is in the next few weeks.
Okay.
So I don't see anyone on the commission attending that realistically.
Okay.
I believe the 4,500 was inclusive of all 3 conferences. Because
that was just for the APA. Oh, and the Leadership Count Santa Clara. Yeah.
So can you tell us what's going on with the selection of the next planning commissioner to replace Commissioner Chahal?
That has been calendared. If you give me a few seconds, I can pull up the date that the council has identified.
April 1st.
April 1st, and do we have applicants?
18 nominees.
Oh, wonderful.
It did get pushed back. I think it was supposed to be held earlier.
Yeah.
But I think originally it was February 22nd. Yes, it has been pushed back a little bit.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, upcoming agenda items.
So we have the continuance of the massage establishment and also the continuance for the BMI Fitness, as well as
yeah, there's also a rezoning near the downtown, which is one of situations that we see frequently or occasionally at the commission, where it's an existing single-family use that doesn't have an existing single-family zoning district. So they're looking to be consistent with their use.
But that is just to clarify, it's an initiation by the city so that they do not have to pay the rezoning fee. So that will be the first step before they come back and then proceed with the rezoning application.
Okay, city council actions?
Yes, since your last meeting on the 19th, there was, of course, you had the PC dinner, and we exchanged ideas with the city council. And then Raj Shahal was acknowledged for his outgoing membership on the Planning Commission. And then there was a rezoning for 1444 Madison and 1411 Lewis. That's the 3 unit or 3 single-family homes with the detached garages approved as in addition to the parcel map. And there was also, this is just related to the architectural committee members, that Corbin Drive affordable housing project, there was a loan approved for $5 million for that in conjunction with the applicant.
Also, because there was quite a break between the last planning commission and this one, Agrihood was considered and approved by the city council on January 29th as well, which was a substantial project that came forward to the commission.
Very good. So I guess you're going to give us a update on the ARC.
Correct. And actually, Director Crabtree had wanted to be here to discuss this and just provide you an update, a status update on the process. On March 5th, which is on Tuesday, an item is being added to the city council agenda in order for staff to get direction from the city council on the change to this city council committee, the AC committee. You know, there have been practical as well as legal concerns that have been raised about the committee's current configuration. And so staff's done analysis of what neighboring city practices are, have identified kind of the constraints that we know are available. And we have a recommendation based on this analysis. Our staff report is going to be available on Friday when we post the agenda. It's still, you know, everything gets finalized, so I don't want to kind of give you all the details. But I think where staff's recommendation is to be consistent with how other cities look at smaller project review, so that we wouldn't be in a situation where the same individuals would be considering projects that would then be potentially appealed to them. So we really want to prevent the concern that individuals would have to recuse themselves from participating in an appeal and therefore create an additional burden for appellants, because in order to achieve a majority with individuals recusing themselves, that creates a hardship for individuals as well. So that, you know, I know many of you have been significantly involved in the AC over the years, and so I would encourage you to look at the staff report, ask questions, and then pay attention to the city council discussion and direction to us on that. This will require changes to Title 18 if any changes are proposed, and so the Planning Commission will be actually hearing this item as a recommending body to change the process as well. So right now we're getting direction from council, and we'll be bringing back any actual amendment changes through the Planning Commission and then to the City Council.
Okay, I believe it's time to adjourn. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion adjourned.